this morning. Hi, Anne. It's so good to see you.
Good morning, everyone. We're glad to have you guys here and glad to be here.
So, Anne and I have been a part of a small group of women who have talked about different career and leadership topics for, just several years now.
Many
And
days.
anytime we have a chance to reconnect and really just vibe on some of the topics, I get extra jazzed for these discussions. So, today's topic is all about overthinking and how we can reframe some of the thoughts that we have around making decisions, whether those are big, small, somewhere in the middle, and really working through those thoughts because as we are, if you're here, you're probably in the healthcare space with us. We have packed days, we have jam-packed schedules, we've got a lot going on, and with that comes a lot of cognitive burden sometimes. So Anne and I were going to explore, how can we really close the loop on overthinking and make decisions faster, right? So, and, we've talked a little bit about this topic, actually, probably a lot cumulatively over the years. But tell me, when you hear about overthinking or rumination, things like that, what do you see coming up for people or yourself, day to day? What have you seen work? What does this look like? How would you work with someone who's feeling a little bit stuck on, I need to make this decision, but I've been thinking about it for months, years? What would you tell them?
Yeah, no, this is a very timely. And when I saw this topic, I was like, I gotta join on this session. I feel like all women, especially high ambitious women, and just and mompreneurs who would definitely struggle with this type of. And I say that because I struggled myself in the past too. I think the biggest part is like what's causing that rumination, right? Like, got to figure out the why. The root is kind of going back to like treating the root and not just like the surface level, like,
Mhm.
oh, figure this out. But it's kind of like a band aid. But like really understanding, like, why are you overthinking about the situation? What about the situation that caused you to have this anxiety, this feeling that you need to sit on it for so long that you can make a decisions? And why are you having this type of like paralysis? So figure out like the why. And I usually ask them like why a couple of times, not just the one. It's like a 7 layer deep of, right, like, and that really usually get to the root of the problem, because it's not like, oh, I want to think to solve this problem only. It's really like, I want to make sure that I'm making and the right decisions. And when it comes to the right decision, it's really hard, and also depends on the individuals. They want to make sure that they're doing the right thing at the right time for the right people. And sometimes that is a lot of stress, especially for leaders from a personal or professional work life, right? And so I think for me, it's just sometimes taking what I call a clarity break, meaning if that decision is so big, say, let's say just for from a personal standpoint, and just taking a step back on like why that one thing is so important for them to make that decision. So like for me, let's say for example, as looking for a new role, why that role is so critical to make the transition. Is this the career move? And if that career move is like, because most of the time we're comfortable with where we're at, so trying to make that career move, moving to a new environment, new people, but what's the reason? Because you don't want to move just to move, right? We don't want to change job just to change job, but like, what's the intention behind it? Would it give you better quality of life? Would it give you better hours, better flexibility with your family? Will it suffice and satisfy your career aspirations? And all those decisions point will help you to make that move a bit smoother. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna be everything, but asking kind of like the why, and usually going to help people understand like why they're making the decision, and also going to help them get off this paralysis analysis field. How about you, Jackie?
Yeah, I mean, you brought up so many great things there, Anne, and thinking about our training in healthcare and when we think about root cause analysis and applying that to our professional life, right? Really digging in to say, okay, but why? And then going that layer deeper and then going that layer deeper. And that takes time. Like that takes time for us to actually create that space, create the thought thread But even having somebody reflect that back to you and ask those deeper questions too of, okay, well, tell me what's behind that. Tell me what's further behind that second layer. Okay, let's go down to layer 7. And that layer is really the driver in my mind of any given direction. You also mentioned thinking about how we lead our teams and when those decisions become more complex, how to navigate those in a way that, maybe it's not a 24-hour decision. And we're not saying this morning that every decision should be made in 24 hours. I think that would be silly to consider that. But there are likely some things that with the proper feedback, with the proper space, with the self-trust and building that in could really close those loops quicker. And I know in the work that both of us have done, we've worked through this ourselves, but also helped others do that the same and trusting our intuition, but also looking more objectively and combining all that information in a quicker way so that you can move forward, that you can make progress and actually get some feedback, get some, inputs back to you, because otherwise you're just stuck in that rumination, right? You're going anywhere. So,
Yeah, for sure. And I think just like a very applicable example is like many individuals, like especially high ambitious individuals, want to have a career and also having like a business on the side and wanting to start a business. And it's like that starting moment of like, I want to start a side hustle, but just like getting started, just like you started years ago and I started years ago, right? But like figure out what do they want to do, how to do it. It's just a lot of ruminations and a lot of like readings and hours of podcasts and hours of research. And then it comes to like just a standstill because either fear is too great or anxiety is too great or whatever, or even um, get into a program to help them execute their idea, right? And I think all that sounds like they did a lot of research. Like you spend kind of like the bell curve, you spend 80% in this research mode, and then it's like when you get towards that, like, okay, you're ready, and you just stop, like the emotional gap, like I'm here, like this is where I'm current state and this is where I want to go, and there's this I call the emotional gap that prevent people getting to the next step. And it's very, and I've seen that in a lot of folks who want to start a business and they just never like make that jump because it's so scary on that other side, like they don't know that other side. But like just being in like an incubator group or meeting people like you and I, it just give them in, I met people and that gave me inspiration, just like, you know what,
mm-hmm.
yesterday was probably the day, but today is the day, and it's never too late. Like you heard that phrase where like you plant a tree 10 years ago, but now it's also a good time to plant a tree. So it's similarly like that's an example too. Or just planning our finance, like getting a budget together and building, protecting our family through the appropriate means. Like there's just so many overwhelming decisions, and people like there's also a piece of like urgent versus important, right? Like it may not, it's very important but it's not urgent. Like so people put it off, like getting
Mm-hmm.
insurance to protect your family and making sure that you have enough life insurance to protect your family, or like building a side hustle that you really that you want to build a side hustle. So all those are kind of examples of like what can lead to paralysis, because you do like 80% in research mode and then you just got stuck because you like, I cannot decide. And I feel like 24-hour rule today you're talking about is just like you have done the research, you know this and this is the step you want to go, but it's just like something is causing you to like stop completely, and you're like, oh yeah, I thought about that like 9 months ago and I did all this da 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 da. Like I don't know if you heard that from people you talk to.
Oh, absolutely. And, I never thought of applying the 80-20 Pareto rule here, but that's such a great perspective, because if we realize that if we just take the 20% action for those things that are reversible, low risk, maybe they are unknown, everything is going to be unknown in the future. Like we just have to come to accept that, and actually having someone to bounce ideas off of, realizing you don't have to pave the way. Others have walked the path, and reaching out to those individuals, like you mentioned, to gain that insight, to get advice about, okay, I've done this before. Here's what I would advise you at this exact step of building your business, of walking through your next career path. but then having someone who could be holding you accountable, whether that's the same person or someone else, like you just need to move and trust that you're going to be safe on the other side. I've talked a lot this week with several folks about what changes they're thinking about making. And in those conversations, and I can't tell you how many times it's only been envisioned what's the worst case scenario. Like they've only thought about everything that can go wrong, everything that won't work out. And my question back is always like, well, what if it goes right? What if actually this turns out to be even better than you imagined? Like, I've never even thought of that world where it actually is totally different and maybe even better than what my brain unconsciously serves up to me over time. And I think there's that other component, as you mentioned, of okay, you've done the research, you've done it, right? You are a brilliant person, you know where to find information, and yet you've got that pile of information leading to overwhelm that therefore keeps you stuck because you're like, I have too much information now. So I wonder what your thoughts are, Anne, on if you're in that spot where you're like, I feel so stuck based on how much research I've done. How do we start to unravel that? Like, how do we get out of that place when we've done all the things? We're like, well, I have 10 options or five or three, but now we're still feeling just frozen in space. Like, where do we start if we're in that mode?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'll say from my personal experience, because I'm like a maximizer, meaning I'm gonna research
Yeah.
everything. And you just like when you go shopping, I'm like trying to look for the best discount. Is this the best deal? And then you have like buyer remorse, like was that the best deal still, you know? So I think it's the same to decision making in anything, personal life or business life or professional life. And I think so funny story, but just really sharing from my experience. Like when I started like 10 years ago, I was like, I want to start a business and I have so many different interests, so many skills to offer, and I just like I was at that place. I was like, what do I want to do? Like I like career coaching, I like financial literacy, I like they're just like career transitions. I mean, there's so many different options that I can just
Mhm.
step myself into as a pharmacist and also just helping people. So guess what? It took me, I think, like a year thinking about it, and then literally take me 2 days to decide, okay, I'm just gonna join. And that's how Jack and I met. I was like, you know what,
Yeah.
I've decided I'm just gonna go into career coaching for pharmacists.
Yeah. You just had to try it, right?
I'm just gonna try it. Yeah, like there's a lot of different options, but I try what was make the most sense, the time that was convenient, and also like the skill that transferable.
Hmm.
So I started with that. And then I coach many pharmacists transitions to their next journey. And then as I coach them, they ask me a lot of questions. So like, okay, what's the next step in terms of like development? And how would I like people start wanting like, oh, I want to start a business. And
Hmm.
how would I start a business doing this and that? So that kind of get me to like my next step. I was like, oh, okay, well, there's a lot of professionals that want to start a business, they don't know how. And so I guess what I kind of merged my career coaching into like a business ownership coaching, like helping professional how to start a business, like really turn their passion and expertise into a business side hustle that they enjoy. So that's what I'm doing. Like that's kind of like the next phase. Like it's sometimes like every decision that you make, it doesn't have to be a final decision. It
Yeah.
is going to be at that point for, and just try it, and don't try it for one day and give up, or 3 months and give up. But like, I mean, I did career coaching with Jackie for a good 3 4 years, and
Hmm.
then as people ask me the same question, and you're gonna see this asking the same question over and over again, like, oh, I got to my next goal, like I have all this, I make all this money, like how do I save, how do I want to invest in something else, I want to do something else for myself. And that kind of give me a seed for my
Hmm.
next venture, which is becoming a wealth strategist and like a business coach to help really healthpreneurs or health professionals get into business ownership, planning their financial life out. And that's what I'm doing now. So I think it's like you don't have to stay stuck in one thing. Like your business is going to evolve.
Yeah.
Jackie's business evolved over the years. I observed that too, right? Like we always evolved. So I think the biggest thing is just take that action. Like just cross that bridge. Like think of this like current, your dream, and you have this like, oh my God, I want to cross over this, but just cross. And when you cross there, there's going to be another bridge to cross. And I think that's the biggest thing is like figure out the ikigai, which is a model where you like do what you love, do what you good at, do what the world's need and what they'll pay you for, and like within that little uh basically core point, that's what you're gonna offer. And so just offer that thing and just do that one thing and get over the hump. Because sometimes just like going to workout, like I'm using certain practical examples so we can all relate, right? It's just like get up in the morning working out, and it's really hard. Like, "God, I gotta dress up, I gotta do this and do." But once you go work out, you feel so great. But it's the part of getting up to go and do the work, that's the mental that takes a lot of energy. So I think it's important for us to like just, and it's easier said than done, but I think that's why we have this 24-hour rule. Like, imagine the worst case scenario, imagine the best case scenario. And I asked myself this question: would I regret not doing this?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is yes, I just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're gonna learn. Even if you like fail, because I had, I've started businesses that didn't succeed. And I learned so much from that I applied to my current business. So I think it's just take actions and don't. I know if the fear, like false reality, appears real, like that seems so great and the story it tells you, but those voices are not you. Like that's not your true you. Your true you is like knowing exactly what you need to do. And sometimes those voices come up, the stress, anxiety, that's not who you are. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh. So much good stuff. I feel like we need a couple hours to talk about this topic and, mentioning one, having that inner dialogue and quieting it, but also to share your ideas with others and know that things are going to evolve over time. Like until you actually have those conversations, whether it's about your business idea, your next career move, whatever the thing is, until you start sharing that with people and hearing what questions come up, what they say back to you, how things go in those conversations, then we're always going to just be in our head versus actually taking the action, whether that is having a conversation, whether it's getting on, the elliptical, if we're thinking about an exercise metaphor, but also knowing that those bridges are there. It's not like you have a cliff and you have to jump over it to get there. Like there is a stepwise process and it's not going to be an overnight thing sometimes to go from point A to point B. So, oh, so much good stuff, Anne. I know we are going to wrap up here soon. Are there any last things that you would share for this morning? And where can people find you if they want to connect more with you after today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing that I want to take away is that paralysis analysis is there, but it's not real. That's number one. Number two is just really explore other means to like truly get to the root. So like I'm actually at a meditation center today, but I do a lot of meditations. And I think sometimes when you go back to your true self and knowing who you are and your purpose, and like truly have a clear why you're doing what you're doing, things just get clearer in anything that you do. So sometimes it's just we have a lot of noise around us, a lot of distractions, a lot of goals, and sometimes it feels really overwhelming. But take a step back and slow down. I know in this busy world, I'm saying the opposite, which is slowing down, because I think for high, just highly ambitious individuals that like we are, we tend to go, 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 go. And that was me, and that's still me somewhat. I'm a recovery perfectionist and recovery, you know, just individuals that just are constantly on the go. But I really think it's important for us to take a step back, slow down, and think realignment. Because I like if you want to go in the right directions, you gotta really pause and reflect if this is the right direction. You keep climbing a ladder, but you want to ask yourself, is that the ladder you want to climb on? Is it worth the time invested, the time, the energy, and the sweat and tears? And if it's not, I know it may be like, gosh, I put so much effort, I just gotta keep going up. But I'm gonna challenge you to take a step back and say, is it the right ladder for you?
Mm.
And if it's not, is it good to go back down and step on another ladder? And I did exactly just that. I took a 3-month pause professionally and just really reflect on like what is it that I want to do and wanting to align myself with. And when I reset and take time for myself, go on a retreat, and just continue to doing that on a daily basis, like meditations, and just take the slow down. I think that has helped me tremendously living a fulfilled life and not just a life that just constantly chasing after materials thing, after accolades, after titles. Because in the end, what does that gives you at
Hmm.
the end of the day?
Gosh, such great words to end on, turning inward and really reflecting on what matters. Because maybe this decision that you've been sitting on feels really heavy, but at the end of the day, what is really most important and what is just really not important? And doing things like meditation, reflection, talking it over with a trusted colleague, a friend, a mentor, a coach, whoever, can really gain that clarity in the moment, but also potentially in the long run too. And it has been such a joy to reconnect with you this morning. As I think we're both open to having any conversations with folks who want to chat more about this or anything that we've shared. We absolutely love helping to support others who are working through these things, or maybe you're just at a crossroads and you need a listening ear. So feel free to reach out to either of us. We hope you have a great weekend ahead. And thank you so much, Anne, again for joining me this
Thank you,
morning.
Jackie, for having me, and thank you so everyone who's joining and listening in. And yeah, happy to have a conversations. And the best way people connect with me could be on LinkedIn or Facebook. I have both, so happy to connect with folks from there. So best of luck for those making a decision. Don't let that drag your mental energy. It's not worth it. Just make a decision. Do it now. Thank you.